Now she's an avatar. Now she's the cursed child. Hey guys, what's up? It's Artfinity here, and I'm back with another episode of Doodle Derp. What I have is a drawing here of Neffy's head, and this was drawn traditionally, and I just went ahead and I cleaned up some of the line art stuff. It's not perfect, but this is actually for a sticker design that I'm going to be making on my Redbubble. Anyway, this drawing is going to involve a lot of filling stuff in, and I figured it would probably be mad helpful if you guys saw what the heck I was doing. I'm going to do this cool thing, which is very cool, to fill this in, because a lot of people might know about the traditional method of like, oh, just color it like this inside the lines and then have it take forever. I found a way that's slightly easier, and I'll show it to you as soon as I can close up all of these gaps here. Whoop! There we go. So you might be thinking to yourself, Skittles, good job, you colored everything in. It's just on the wrong side of it though. Now, hold on. Shh. I know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Control, and then I'm gonna click on this, and then that'll select the outline I just made. Then I'm gonna hit that Control-Shift-I, and what that does is it inverts the selection, and then the selection is gonna be like, whoa, I don't know what to do with my life anymore. And you're gonna be like, yeah, great. And now I'm gonna make a new layer and just fill everything in again, but look, this time it's all on the inside, and it's all neat and convenient, and it's lovely and magical, and you can tell your friends, and your friends won't quite get it, but you will. Now, if you're anything like me, you're really lazy with coloring inside the lines afterwards, so we're just going to create a new layer over here. Hit that Control-Alt-G. Whoop-bam! Look, boom, we got ourselves a clipping mask. And what that'll do is that'll essentially make it so this weird tan layer that I can't draw outside of it. This is pretty much the magical can't color outside the lines button. Very useful. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work on this in layers, starting from the back going to the front. I mean, I could essentially just make a basic color selection for everything. But like I said, I'm really lazy. I got the base color in now, so I'm just going to create another layer, and same deal, Control-Alt-G. But now I have this in, and I'm actually going to be using the selection tool to show a cool thing that I'm doing. Just creating the shade, and this is on a new layer over here as well. And then I'm just going to fill it in. And then you can do this with the brush tool as well, but I'm going to show you guys a cool thing. And now I'm going to go to the eraser tool, and I'm going to make it a soft brush. I'm going to lower the opacity to like 30. And then I'm actually going to take away from it slightly. So you'll see that that'll give it a cool combination of cell shaded but also slightly blendy looking. And that's what I'm going for. And then it looks neat, and it looks dandy, and it looks like you spent a lot more time on it than you actually did. Don't tell anyone. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to create a weird thing. This is a habit I haven't broken since my paint tool Psy days. And also just the fact that I'm really blind. You do have a magical wand selection, but it's pretty hard for me to see the little dotted ant lines. So sometimes I just go in with a solid color like this, and pretty much select what I want to select. Like this. And the mouth too, because it saves you layers. Not that I need to, but I still am. Save yourself layers, save yourself gigabytes. So I got that down, and you see I have all of this in blue, and you're like, yep, that looks really weird. But I actually made this for a reason, because if I go over here to this layer, and I name it, I don't know, eyes and nose, and then I hit this little checkbox thing up here, whoop, that pretty much locks the layer. It's kind of like a clipping mask over here. It's the magical color inside the lines thing, but for just this layer. And what that means is that I can go through this and color it all nice and dandy the way I want to. And then if the mask needs adjustment and I missed a spot like that single pixel there, I can just unlock it by clicking that again and then fixing it. with the right color. I didn't remember what color Neffy's eyes were, so I may have just looked up a reference. Oh, it's sad when you don't remember your own character's eye color. But anyway, I'm just adding in a couple of basic shades here of what I want everything to be. That cool blending method I showed you works here as well, but for the eyes, since they're kind of just always absurdly shiny, I'm just gonna actually go in with the soft brush and modify that. And her eyes are amber color, which is a little tricky to make, for me at least, because my brain can't comprehend colors. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going into like different browns and reds to make this look more yellow. You could also do it with orange, I guess, but I'm not really going into like, one second, if I go to this yellow and then I go to a darker grayer version over here, which is like adding shadow, you'll see that doesn't look very yellow anymore. It could work, but I'm going with like reds and browns over here just because it makes the eye have more variety. It's probably something in color theory that I don't know the name for, but it's probably a thing. And now I'm going to make it a solid line and add in just little points of contiguity. And they're not in random spots like halfway there, although they could be. But you'll see I'm kind of having them follow the line of the very subtle highlights I made there. And now that that's actually in and the eyes are looking more or less the way I want them to, I'm going to go on to the eyelashes. And for this, I'll create a new layer for this one. I'm going to show you guys a cool thing I do. And it's actually a thing I've seen a couple of people do. But again, the lines are slightly outside, so I just go back to this first base layer. And just gonna fill that in. Anyway, you'll see with this, I'm gonna lock this layer again because, you know, coloring outside the lines, I suck at it. Her hair is dark brown, so I'm gonna go in with that. I don't know if your eyelashes are the same color as your hair. I mean, I assume they would be, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone with red eyelashes before. Not that I spend every day just staring at people's eyelashes. And now that I have those down, you're going to notice that there's no white behind the eyes. So I'm just going to go to and make another layer underneath the eyes and mouth layer. And this is the best part. I don't need to worry about coloring outside anything. But I'm just filling that in just with the soft brush because it looks nicer to me like that. Locking the layer. You might notice that I'm doing this like super duper fast, and I'm sorry if I am. But anyway, just an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have ever had it before, but whenever I start using a program, it's really hard to figure out how to do even the simplest things at first. And you're like, oh, dude, I just want to... And my apologies, by the way, if I'm not explaining a lot of what I'm doing. Mostly because I don't know either. That's the easy answer. But guess while I'm at it, I could tell you guys a little bit about Neffy. So Neffy is the main character from a story I have called Hill Surrounded. I'm going into the hair now. I feel like I should have mentioned that. Hill Surrounded is a manga idea that I came up with while I was in the Bronx in New York. And, you know, it's a good place to have ideas because, you know, you get shot at, but no, we didn't get shot at that much. People were actually nice. The idea of Hill Surrounded is basically revolving around Neffy, which is this person, and she wants to be a professional detective. Only problem is she's really bad at it. She has the skills. She's just very people dumb. So she'll say something she's not supposed to, divulge secrets, blow her cover like almost immediately. And in the story, it's just funny to see how, oh, hey, I want to be a good detective. Let's just ruin everything. She's failed a lot. She kind of wants to prove herself. And that's actually why she goes for one of the biggest cases that's floating around at the time, because there's been a couple of people that have been killed by a murderer that nobody has ever even seen. And it's like, well, great. What do we do if we can't see the human? And then Neffy's like, I have a good idea. What? I'll find them. The entire premise of the story is she's pretty much trying to find out who this dude is that's killing a lot of people. And she has a limited amount of time to do it because it's planning on killing one of her friends next. And that's a pretty good self-motivator to Neffy to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I better actually take this seriously. And it's just it's cool. Like that. There's more I want to say, and there is more to say. I just can't say it. And also in regards to Doodle Derp, it's a little interesting because I've already made a few episodes of this, and I really don't know what the heck I'm going to do with it. But that's kind of the point of it. It's pretty much drawing live. It isn't speed paint, rather. But I wanted to know and get your guys' feedback. What do you think about me doing longer drawing videos? It may not necessarily be the entire process from start to finish like a speed paint. And I know that that could be a little weird because I would like to have an end product to show for a video. Every time, you know, because with the speed paint, you see it from beginning to end, and then when it has an ending, it feels like the end of a story, and you're like, all right, well, that had a solid conclusion. Short story was told, got to see drawing go by super fast, and that was neat. But with Doodle Derp, I was thinking it's not so much about making a drawing from start to finish. I will when I can, but I won't always can. It's also pretty challenging talking while you're drawing. I would recommend the exercise to anyone. You want to multitask, you either ruin your commentary or you ruin your drawing. So it's your pick. You get good commentary or good drawing. You can't have one or the other. And right now I'm feeling more like it's the drawing that's suffering. That's pretty much what I want to do with Doodle Derp, is the idea that it's drawing live. It won't be everything. It might not be an entire drawing just for time constraint, but maybe I get to show you a cool principle in something that I'm doing, and maybe you can learn a thing or two and apply it to your own drawings and be like, oh, hey, this dude is actually not entirely wasting my time right now because you learned something cool. And I think that that would be cool. Now, the real challenge with this for me is just learning how the heck I'm gonna cut it down, because picture this, sitting in a room talking to myself for half an hour, say a lot of stuff, and then I go back later and cut it down and be like, what if this is actually useful? What do I include? What do I not include? But it's fun because that way it leaves it open to interpretation. And I actually wanted to ask you guys, what would you like to see from the series? I'm going to be drawing live. Is there anything that you would want to learn from it? So a cool thing I'm doing here is you'll see that even though I made the big deal about coloring inside of the lines, I totally still didn't. But I have this set up in a super smart way over here that I hope you can see. Let me just move the me out of the way. I have this base layer right here, which means all of these things are attached to it. And this base happens to be the hair. So I have the highlights and the secondary highlights and the shading. I have all of that in there. And I have all of these layers of shading on top of it. What I can do is I'm just going to click on the top one, hold shift, and then I'm going to click on the bottom one. And you see I have all of those selected. Then I hit Control E, and it turns them all into one layer. And because we already made that mask right at the beginning, I can Control Alt G. All right, so now I got that in, and look at how much of the drawing is colored without me ever having to place in an actual base color thing. You know, I should probably be naming some of the layers over here, but I'm not. We'll name this one, though, because this one's special. I'm going to name it Beanie. This isn't Neffy's normal beanie, but I figured for the design it'd be a little fun if I played around with it. Gonna color here. Again, outside of the lines, because if there's anything you should have picked up from this video is that coloring outside the lines is good. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the hair, or the skin, or I'm going to do a thing. And I'm using the wand selection, or you can also use the pen selection tool for this, to just make some actual strokes in this. And I'll make them a slightly blue-gray. There we go. Not much to say here about the beanie, other than just shading it like a beanie. I'm trying not to make it too angular because I imagine that this kind of material would probably be knitted. So it wouldn't have too many sharp angles in it because it's very floof. So now I made the white poof ball and I'm going to just sample different colors and see what works. But the pink would probably go better with the earth tones that Neffy has, so I think I'll stick with pink. We'll go with pink. Sergeant Poofball will be... I keep saying pink. This is a peach color. If you call this pink, you might be too pro. Speaking of absurd colors, I found out one of my Copic colors has a name that's really interesting. I'm gonna go find it. Hold on, I need to tell you guys what it is. R43 Bougainvilliers, or Bougainvois, or something. Now what I'm going to do is definitely one of my favorite parts, and that's adding light filters. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to change the thing to overlay. And with that overlay, what that essentially does is it overlays a color on top of the color that you already have. So say for example, if I were to pick blue, whatever color I draw this on, it would add the blue equivalent to it. So it'd be like, oh look, now she's an avatar. Now she's the cursed child. There's one more thing that I need to make this feel like a very stickery sticker, and that is a random outline. So I'm just going to click to get a drop down box that you guys can't see because OBS is weird. But I'm going to make a white outline around this. You're going to see that there's little weird random stray bits here, but you can actually get rid of those by actually just erasing. But there we go. Now we have an official super stickery looking design. When I see this, I think sticker. But if you're actually interested in checking this out, I'll have it available on my Redbubble page. And if you want to have the actual files themselves, like this random little head thing and the circle thing, then you can just check out my Patreon. And big thanks to anyone who watched the video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. And I actually have some questions for you now. We're going to go into like hard interrogation mode. Question I have is about dividing these up into maybe shorter videos. Like I said, this is real time, so I need to keep it relatively short. But would you guys prefer if I actually divided this up into different portions maybe? So maybe we could have a doodle derp just exclusively about how I did the hair for this drawing, or a doodle derp about clipping masks, which I used a lot in the video. Let me know. I would love to hear about that. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the drawing. It was a lot of fun to make, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!